I want to entitle this. It's interesting too. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure if it's interesting. Call to worship. Call to worship even in the worst of cases. Even in the worst of cases. Call to worship. Hey Mickey, you're so fine. Doodle doodle doo. I guess in one sense this is a sacrament. It's a confession and a blasphemy, all combined into one. Such is the power of St. Michael, such is the power of St. Christopher. Michelmaus is coming up. What are we doing? The first thing we're doing is bringing back Michelmaus, September 29th. Yeah. We're not even close to Revelation. Not even close. So far as like the New Testament goes, so far as the life of Christ goes as a holographic like projector through time, we haven't even like, or maybe we're at the, maybe historically since Christ, because time is this unfolding envelope. It's like, it's kind of like a, you know how there's a regular envelope that you mail things in, like you buy envelopes at the store, you write a letter. These days you write a letter like this. I still write letters like this, sometimes in cursive, sometimes all scrabbly, sometimes like in little trying to be neat print, you know, because that's my era. You know, it's the era I've grown up in. You know, sometimes you type things, sometimes you print things, sometimes you use proper English, sometimes you text OMG. Which is interesting because OMG is a trunk. This is phenomenal so far as like the evolution of language is a epicycle. It's a hypocycloid, and also I actually don't know what the. So there's epicycloids, epicycloids. A hypocycloid is one thing, and then there's another something or rather. Cycloid. I can't remember its name. Never mind, like an asteroid. An asteroid in epicyclic geometry, dynamic geometry, is a thing. So, in common day, everyday parlance, the word asteroid kind of means one thing, like an asteroid from outer space, this, that, whatever, asteroid, meteor, there's that whole distinction. The epicyclic traversal of its, you know, path through space and time, and through space-time. But in mathematics and geometry, like the quote-unquote term asteroid is a reference to a specific dynamic geometrical epicycle. I just can't remember if it's an epicycle. because an epicycle is a circle, like planarly speaking, and there are also three-dimensional representations of this. That's not well, that is exactly what we're talking about, but we're talking about it kind of like at first principles on a plane. So on a plane, when you have a circle and you have another circle that's rolling around it, that's a specific dynamic geometry. Weird. I'll pick up where I left off on that. But for now, I've been making throat sounds for like 15 years, 14 or 15 years, maybe 13 years. Somewhere between 13 and 15 years I've been making throat sounds. I've accumulated a mild efficiency, which is a lot, I think. Maybe I have something to say about it. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. We'll never get to God if we don't get to Christ. Everybody's heard that, but never, ever, ever. Right. Christ says, you come to the Father through me. Right. Who's he? He's the Son. But how do you get to the Son? Right. Okay. Let's take Jesus at his word. Whoop. Let's take Jesus at his word. You don't come to the Father, but through me. How do you suppose you get to Jesus? What was the first thing Jesus saw? What was the first thing Jesus saw? It's a question. What was it? Mary! What was the last thing Jesus saw? It's the same thing as the first thing. Those beautiful eyes. Those beautiful eyes of the mother was the first thing and the last thing that Christ ever saw. Christ was given the greatest gift that any man could be given. That at his birth, he stared into the eyes of his mother, and at his death, he stared into the eyes of his mother. God gave Christ the greatest burden, but God also gave Christ the greatest reward. The Paschal mystery, the Paschal mystery, the Paschal mystery. Depending on how you spell it, but the Paschal mystery, the Paschal mystery, Pascal. Where'd that H go? One of the secrets, I'm not saying it's not the complete secret, but one of the secrets of the Paschal mystery is Christ was given the greatest burden, but Christ was also given the greatest gift. That he came into this world and he went out of this world with his mother beside him. How do you suppose it was that Christ went to hell and defeated death? What gave Christ that power? Why? It's the same answer as why did God create the world? God created the world to create people. To create man. Not male man necessarily. The greatest creation of God is Mary. Mary is the perfect human. Christ is fully human. Christ is fully human and fully God. God is not the perfect human, and God is not the perfect God. What? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is God is always the biggest. God is always the most perfect. God himself says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Well, what's the Alpha and what's the Omega? If I am the Alpha and the Omega, I am the first and the last. I am both of those things at the same time. Yet, the Alpha is not the Omega. And the Omega would never come to be if there weren't a greater principle. The principle is not Mary, it's Mary's want. Mary's want. Before Mary, it's kind of like before you were, I am. I am the Alpha and the Omega. In the same way, it's Mary's want. Mary's want came before God. God came before Mary. Christ came in the middle of time, in the middle of Mary's womb. Daughter of Saint Anne, whose womb was also perfected in a way by God. It's perfect. We are very close. We are very close to understanding the importance of Mary. We are in the labor pains of the birth of the adoration of Mary. So, we just need a little patience.